Welcome to this free training on how to create an identity shift, beat procrastination, and become the most consistent person that you know. You opening this free training is quite literally taking more action than 90% of the people who get this training in the first place. Seriously. So please don't close this thinking I'll read it later, because that pattern is the exact pattern that you're here going through this training to break. So break the pattern today, because your life can change in an instant. In the next 10 minutes, you're going to learn the foundations on how to forge an unshakable mindset, undergo an identity shift, and create systems to achieve any goal that you want naturally. So how did I turn my life around from being a skinny fat Asian kid, playing video games 6 to 8 hours a day until, scrolling until 3 a.m. I was anxious about my future, and I was frustrated because I knew I had so much potential, but I just felt lost. I felt disoriented, and like I just had no energy to just do the things that I actually wanted to do. Now I've built a 6-figure business and more than 100,000 followers as a full-time university student, spending over 60 hours a week in school and leadership opportunities, competing nationwide. I'm training 6 to 8 times a week for the past 4 years. I've traveled to over 9 different countries, and I've coached over 60 founders ranging from 8-figure CEOs, lawyers, medical professionals, and creators to help them focus, have fun, work less, and earn more by building identity-first systems. So how can you actually do the same? The first is that you need to build a new identity. Here's what I mean by this. The key to building lasting habits is by creating a crystal clear identity of the person that you want to become. If you're thinking, Daniel, like I've already heard this before, that mindset will kill your progress. I've talked to so many people who've heard this before. In fact, a lot of my clients have heard this before. If you don't build this mindset, everything else fails. Okay? You've probably experienced burnout or feeling lost in the past, right? That happens because we overwork ourselves, and that's usually because we're goal-oriented, right? And you don't actually enjoy the process, and you don't have a long-term vision for why this is something that you want to do, why this is something that you want to build. So, for example, I want to build a 7-figure AI company, right? They exit the company and all of a sudden they're lost. There's people who make it their life mission to get a job at Google. They get it, and then 2 years later, they quit because they feel dissatisfied. They feel like this isn't what they wanted. For example, I want to be a content creator. They start creating content. They create a personal brand around that. And then a year later, they find themselves burning out, right? It's good to think about the results, the goals, and the actions in order to get there, but it limits you in one direction, right? And I've seen countless friends, close friends, burn out and feel lost in life because they're so tunnel visioned on this one goal, right? It happened to me as well. But if you do this, you're setting yourself up for failure, regardless of whether you actually achieve that goal or not. So instead of focusing just on the goal and the action, I want you to focus on your identity. When everything around you is uncertain, for example, you don't know what business to start, you're laid off at work, you've graduated from university and you just don't know what to do next, or you hit a dream goal and you're unsure what to do, become certain of yourself, your habits, your values, your lifestyle, and your routines. Because once that becomes clear, you become clear on what steps to take. Your current behaviors are simply a reflection of your current identity. And so if you want to change your identity and your behavior for good, you have to start believing new things about yourself and interrupting these automatic patterns. So let's go into the 2-step recipe for sustained success. Number 1 is decide the exact type of person you actually want to become, right? The habits, the values, when you wake up, what exactly you do after you wake up, when you sleep, the people that you spend time with, the food that you eat, everything that you can possibly think of, right? Once you decide the exact type of person that you want to be, that to a point where you can visualize this person and name everything that this person would do, how this person would react, the second thing you have to do is to prove it to yourself at every single moment with small wins. Here's some simple examples, right? If you want to be someone who's fit and strong, this is super simplified. The identity is to become the type of person who never misses a workout, right? So, for example, to create momentum, in building any habit, you want to go from momentum, consistency, and then intensity. Don't make the mistake that I used to make of telling myself I'd go to the gym 6 days a week and just burning out within the next 1 to 2 weeks, okay? The small win is to do home workouts, make it non-negotiable Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Make them half an hour long and do them at home so you can't possibly make any excuse and create that momentum that'll later transition to consistency, and then you can ramp things up from there, right? If you want to build a personal brand, then become the type of person who consistently posts, right? The small wins, post 1 reel a week, regardless of how bad you think it is, or regardless of how scared you are. Trust me that the repetition will help you improve, and that taking action regardless of fear will train yourself to execute faster and more consistently. So talking about systems, this is one of the leverage systems that you can use to ensure habits stick long term. This is what I call the on-purpose planning system. It's at least 50% of overcoming your procrastination. The other 50% is obviously you executing. So this is what you're going to do and when you're going to do it. Studies have shown that those with a clear plan are far more likely to follow through, because you don't have to think about what you're actually going to do or make any decision at that point. All you have to do is take action, execute on the plan that you've already created. You might use a to-do list, right, on Apple Notes, on maybe even Notion if you're sophisticated, or something else, but this alone just doesn't cut it. Yes, it's written down, but you leave it up to chance, and you're hoping to be motivated at the right time, and you're hoping that, the day is just going to go and you're just going to get everything in your to-do list done. That probably doesn't happen, right? Use a planning system so when the moment of action occurs, you don't need another decision. All you have to do is carry out your plan. This simple act of getting clarity will help you overcome procrastination. Here are some examples. You can zoom in here on your own time. And the system to actually becoming the most consistent person that you know, so transitioning from momentum and action to consistency, is environment crafting. Simply put, there's something called ontological design, right? Meaning that we are the product of our design, right? The most disciplined people don't rely on willpower. They simply create systems and craft their environment so effectively that every situation that they find themselves in is actually a winning situation, right? They create their environment and their routines and their habits and everything around them to the people around them, everything. The easiest and most convenient decision for them to make is automatically the best decision to move closer to that goal, right? So, for example, I'm not sure if I put this down, is when you wake up in the morning, if your phone is charging next to your bed, that's a bad environment, because what are you most likely going to do? What's the easiest and most convenient decision for you to make? It's for you to hit snooze because it's on arm's reach, and it's for you to instantly start scrolling on Instagram, TikTok, right? That's a bad environment. So think about yourself and stop putting yourself in environments where you're easily distracted or you can easily make the wrong choice. For example, doom scrolling, gaming, binging Netflix, eating junk food. Learn to craft your environment and naturally be encouraged to do what actually needs to be done. So how do I actually naturally make this right choice every time? And what are some of the biggest mistakes that procrastinators are making? Well, when you choose to change your identity, you're going to start with motivation, right? And that's normal. The formula for building habits is, like I mentioned, building momentum first, transitioning that into consistency. Once you've established that you're a consistent person, you've proven that to yourself, then you can easily start ramping up the intensity like no problem, right? People try to motivate themselves to go to the gym every day. But I've never seen someone commit to change when it's so different from their normal lifestyle. There's that cognitive dissonance between where they are now versus where they actually want to be. And so they just don't believe this new identity of themselves. They don't believe that this is who they are. Instead, start with creating momentum, right? My general rule is 30% of your dream goal. I'll give you an example. If you want to work out, let's say fitness, if you want to work out 5 days a week, you want to work out for 90 minutes, 5 days a week, you have a good split going on, cut that down to 2 days a week, right? You're going to feel like this is so little. You're probably going to feel 2 weeks in that you're not making much progress, and it's going to start to bug you, but it should, because you need to prove to yourself that you can stay consistent. You need to prove to your unconscious mind that you are the type of person who shows up for themselves. Here are 2 things to always keep in mind during this entire progress. Number 1, you have zero obligation to be the same person you were 5 minutes ago. I say this because your current identity is someone that you're not proud of. You're going to feel that cognitive dissonance, your current values, identity, and that beliefs, it's not going to align with this version and identity of you that you actually want to become. Your mind is going to tell you to stop because it's cringe, it's awkward, it's scary. You're going to get judged, and it's not who you are. But you have to ignore that voice. And again, it's normal, right? Like I felt this probably like hundreds, if not thousands of times every single day as I was going through my high performance journey myself. The most important part here is reminding yourself that you have zero obligation to be the same person you were 5 minutes ago, and taking that imperfect action and creating momentum. Missing once is going to be an accident. That's fine, right? Life happens, shit happens. But missing twice is going to be the start of a new habit, which is why the second part is going to be consistency, right? It felt incredibly uncomfortable to do things that my old identity would never used to do, right? Go to the gym, wake up early, not hit snooze, right? It's all things that I wanted to do, but because of that cognitive dissonance, it just felt unnatural. But consistency, the thing about consistency is about getting back on track, not about staying on track and being this perfect high performance person all the time. So understand that every single small decision and small action that you make when no one is looking around you will become the undeniable truth that you are who you say you are. And that's what builds confidence. Number 2, if you decide that you're serious about changing your life, you have to go all in. You cannot have two identities. You cannot be this old version that you're trying to break out of while creating this new version of yourself. The biggest factors that helped me were one, leverage high performance systems, and number 2, a crystal clear North Star and an environment designed for my success. It's so easy to learn something, right? Read all those books, listen to all those podcasts, but never actually follow through consistently, right? I would do that for years. I would watch productivity influencers like Ali Abdaal, Jun Yu when he was posting productivity content. It could even be this training for you. The mistake that I made was letting my ego get in the way and thinking that it was just as easy as I just need to sit down and do it. I just need to lock in. I just need to, create this retroactive revision table and lock in on my grades, on my business, whatever it was. The truth was that I was too scared to commit to a change, to actually go all in and make this a part of my identity. And I'd always end up getting distracted and going back to what was comfortable. I was wasting my time and my life for quite literally years, telling myself that I was trying. It was okay because no one gets it the first time. And I was watching all these videos about self-improvement and telling others that I wanted to change. I wanted to go to the gym. I wanted to wake up at 5:30 or 6 a.m. and I was directionless. I was relying on motivation, trying all these random productivity tips, creating all these beautiful Notion templates, but nothing was changing, right? Because information alone doesn't change your life. It's the implementation of it. So what I want you to leave with here is the best time to start was the last time you said you were going to. I don't care if this is at nighttime. I don't care if you're watching this on a holiday or there's something happening in a week from now. So it's not the best time to start these behaviors or these changes, but now is the best time to start. You don't know what's going to happen a month from now. That's why you feel like that's the best time that's going to happen. Start now and do whatever you can to create that momentum. I'm genuinely rooting for you. I hope to potentially work with you in the future. If you're curious about working together one-on-one, then there is a full coaching breakdown down at the bottom. But if not, I'm rooting for you. Best of luck, and I'll see you in the next training. Peace out.